Yo guys, what is going on, and thank you for checking out the video. As you can tell by the title, today we are talking about the 5 things that I hate about this 2015 Honda CRF250L. Now, quick snippet, if you guys saw last video, you'll know that the microphone on my GoPro Hero 7 broke. Well, not the microphone, basically the input for the USB-C microphone adapter just stopped working. So basically, long story short, I got a new GoPro. It's on my face now. It's the GoPro Hero 8, and we've got the new mic set up, all good to go. Guys, so obviously the Hero 7 still works. It's just the mic that's messed up that doesn't work, but that's a perfect excuse for me now to have a rear-facing camera. Hopefully this gets you guys a pretty sick view of me and the bike, especially when we're doing wheelies and stuff. But yeah, I'm excited for how it looks. Where's Owen? All right, we gotta rip a wheelie quick to start. Couldn't see very well. But yeah, okay guys, now that I ripped that wheelie, today we're talking about the 5 things I hate about this bike. Got a whole list here, we're gonna get right into them. I'm gonna preface this just by saying, I don't actually hate this bike. I love this bike. This bike has taught me a lot. It's helped me a lot in learning and becoming a better rider, but I'm still gonna nitpick some shit because that's what we do on YouTube. Well, that doesn't look good. Sheesh. All right guys, so first thing that I hate about this bike, you can hear right now. Hear that? This is a very loud and rattly bike. So these bikes are infamous for what's called the 5K rattle. Owen's doing a little wheelie. The 5K rattle, which is basically just a weird rattling sound that this bike makes at 5,000 RPMs. So that's one thing. Another thing I would say, Owen wanted to see the cemetery. I think that was 3rd gear. There's multiple aspects about this bike that are loud. The sprockets and gearbox is gonna be pretty loud. Now, this specifically has to do with the fact that I do have an aftermarket sprocket, which basically doesn't have a rubber backing, which I've heard the stock sprockets that have a rubber backing are a bit quieter, but you can still hear. This is a very loud sprocket, and maybe that's partially on me, on my maintenance, on my chain tightness, but regardless of what I do, it's still pretty dang loud. In addition to that, the skid plate also makes a loud rattling sound. It also could be the brand of the skid plate, but it's fully tightened, fully torqued, and it still rattles all over the place. So that's the #1 thing. It's not the most reassuring thing when you just have a whole bunch of rattling, funny sounds going on. So that's the first thing I dislike about this bike. Turns out Owen ran out of gas. That's what happened. At least you have a reserve. Gotta turn right up here, I think. I want to go into this cemetery. All right, guys, so we're in a graveyard now. But on the topic of 5K rattle, that brings us to the next thing I hate about this bike. And that's gonna be that there's no tachometer. Is it sacrilegious to wheelie in here? I don't know, probably. But there's no tach. Now, this is only specific to the 2015 model. I think as of 2017, I believe, they started adding the tachometer. But any bike from 2013 to 2016 does not have the tach, and that kind of sucks. I like having a tachometer. It's nice. Sort of looped in with that is also that there's no gear indicator. Now, it's not really that normal to have a gear indicator on a dirt bike, on a dual sport. That's just a personal preference. I had it on my R3, had it on my GN125 for my first 2 bikes I had it. I liked it a lot. And that's just missing on this bike. So not a huge deal. Again, these are just nitpicky things, but I do wish this bike had that. Well, this is fucking sick. What a cool ass view. There's some really old gravestones or tombstones in here too. And I guess this is a path here that I didn't even realize was a thing. But what a vantage point. What a vantage point. Well, goddamn. This would be a nice ass spot to get buried, honestly. Wow. All right, we need to get out of the cemetery though so I can continue this video as well as some more wheelies. Man, you gotta be pretty important to have something like that. Looks cool on this camera. Woo! And we got the Triumph. I think it's the Triumph Tiger. What's up, dog? Is that a Tiger? Yeah. That's nice, dude. How do you like it?
It's a little heavy.
Yeah, I mean.
Farther back down Kelly, there's like an R6.
Well, that doesn't look good. Yeah, I saw that. I'm very curious as to what happened.
I didn't see anybody there, so I guess
It's probably been there like since overnight is my guess. So our little shortcut. Oh, that's a new building. Never seen that before. All right, guys. So since I'm stopped here, the next thing I hate about this bike is specifically its height and weight. Now, it's normal for a dual sport, obviously, to be tall. It's normal for a dual sport to be tall, but this is surprisingly tall for a 250. So seat height I think is around like 32 to 33 inches, which for if you're a shorter guy, like shorter than 5'10", it's gonna be a tippy toe bike for you. So I'm about 5'11". I can pretty much flat foot it, but it's still a pretty heavy bike. Now you notice the weight when you're doing like more so slower technical riding. So if like you're finding yourself tripping up, maybe you stall, you're about to sort of fall over, this bike is a lot harder to save. So you've seen in plenty of videos if you watch my channel that you know, I'll like occasionally just kind of like slowly drop the bike, and that's just because it's awkward because it's tall and it's heavy, but you have all the weight up top. So it's a lot easier to kind of drop when you're off-roading. And again, it's a heavy bike. It's about 320 pounds. So that's another thing that I'm not a huge fan of. It's tall for its size and it's heavy for its size. Size referring to the actual motor size of the bike. All right, I gotta tell Owen to practice here. This is the hill that I would practice on. Like do a little slow wheelie up. That felt good. Okay guys, next thing I hate about this bike now that we're moving at speed has got to be 6th gear. 6th gear is basically an overdrive gear on this bike. It really doesn't have any pull, especially if you have the stock sprockets, which would be 14 in the front and 40 in the rear. If you're riding the highway, you're really just gonna have a tough time sitting in 6th gear. If you ever wanna overtake someone, you're always gonna have to downshift to 5 or 4. 6 is really an overdrive gear. It's kind of worthless, if I'm being honest, on this bike, just because you're not really gonna be able to pass anyone. It's more so like if you're going down a hill, that you'll be able to put it into 6th gear and maybe get a little bit more speed. But 6th gear, frankly, it sucks. I have lower gearing at 1442, so that helps a little bit. But that being said, still is not great, and that guy is also not great. I had the right of way. Little neutral bomb. Ooh, little jump. Yeah, I just took Owen to this lot so we can practice some of his wheelies here. But yeah guys, 5th thing on this bike that I hate is going to be, there you go Owen, is going to be flame outs and just the general clunkiness of this bike. So shifting into 1st, shifting into 2nd, you can kind of hear it. It's a very clunky bike. So I definitely noticed that right off the bat. My R3 wasn't nearly as clunky. Other dual sports I've ridden weren't nearly as clunky as well. I think that's just the thing though with small single cylinder bikes, that it's just normal for them to be clunky. So I've heard at least, but I definitely noticed it's clunky. The other thing that I've paired in with that is, and this doesn't happen quite that often, but this bike will flame out sometimes. So like if I go into 1st, watch, I'm probably not gonna be able to get it to do it right now, but this bike does have flame out issues sometimes. So that's the 5 things I don't like, guys. I really love the bike, and those are 5 nitpicking items. So everything else, it's a fucking awesome bike. But let me know in the comments what you think about the 5 things that I hate on this bike. Let me know if they're valid. Let me know if you guys feel the same, or if I'm crazy.